u/available Hardibob for AskReddit. What would change if we all went vegan?
Welcome to
AutoGenLabs.
Daily Reddit content.
By robots.
For the internet.
The amount of animals living on this planet would be drastically reduced.
Plant activists would show up.
Some people would feel healthier, others would feel worse. Individual diets and health are a spectrum. Also, as some already said, our carbon footprint would eventually go down, but not immediately. Plus, we'd have to figure out what to do and how to sustain all the animals we're suddenly not eating.
People would start eating meat and tell everyone for no reason.
In a politic sense in Ireland, it would be far easier to meet our climate goals if we cut out livestock-based agriculture. Methane-based emissions is responsible for 1/3 of the warming gases emissions problem from Ireland. And #200b, land use would change a great scope for rewilding and switching to producing vegetable, wheat, fruit and fungi products needed to feed us. And #200b, it would create an amazing market for delicious vegan foods. Two new stuff in Aldi recently is amazing. I know vegan, but I really enjoy oat milk drink, vegan cheese and the new tofu they have.
Suddenly we would have a huge vegetable shortage and it would cost $8 for a tomato. Let me clarify this a bit since the responses seem to be confused. I don't believe there will actually be a shortage. I just believe corporations would jack up the prices on anything that is currently cheap because they're greedy bastards.
I'm going to assume this happens overnight as a change in humanity's collective consciousness for chaos' sake. Pigs would likely all be released to the wilderness where they begin exhibiting their wild forms. The pigs we raise and eat are actually the exact same as wild boars, just with different gene expressions. Let our pink pigs go and within 2-3 years 6-9 generations of pig reproduction, the tusks will be larger. They'll grow a thick coat of brown/black fur and lose a large percentage of body beef and develop muscle instead. Pigs can survive in the wild almost anywhere too. Cows could be kept for leather, but since this is a vegan question, not even that. Released to the wild, cows will survive in most places, like buffalo once did in the US, and there's a cousin of them living in the African savannah. Don't remember the name, but they'll do fine. Herds of cows could be problematic due to their initial numbers though. Sheep are not likely to be released, as we've actually genetically modified them through breeding and kinda beat them over. A sheep needs to have its fair share or it'll eventually suffocate it or cause it to overheat in the summer. Ironically, if it grows to that point, the sheep wouldn't even have the sweet release of being quickly killed by a predator, as they could not get through their fur. Chicken and such are likely to be released as well. We haven't modified them much, so they'll likely just overeat bugs and seedy plants until the population balances out. Fisheries are a thing that exists, but most commercial fishing is done on the ocean, so with it gone we'd be looking at an explosion of marine life. This could be hard to handle in some areas, but the ocean has a way of balancing itself out. Predators is where things get interesting. Almost all the animals we keep would be easy pickings without our protection, so we'd see an explosion of predatory species of all kinds all around the world, as traditionally domestic animals become easy pickings for them, and due to the amount of food, predators will begin mating and reproducing more often. A large prey population means more predictable food sources, which means less competition amongst predators, so less predatory animals after food disputes. Mountain lions, wolves, hogs would start moving from the wilderness to more populated areas unless we got the farm released far from it, and at some point lose fear and threat on humans. So we might end up on the menu as well. All in all, the environment would manage to balance itself out at some point, but we would have a couple of years of chaos for sure.
The amount of misinformation in this thread is ridiculous.
Animal farming would be a thing of the past.
These answers show how beep humans really are.
The quality of life of billions of animals.
If everyone went vegan, it would have a huge impact on the environment. Animal agriculture is a major contributor to climate change, and it is estimated that going vegan could reduce global greenhouse gas emissions by up to 70%. It would also reduce water.
Well, we'd have to figure out what to do with all of the livestock still in existence for starters.
Climate change would be slowed dramatically, and everyone would do the best one-piece beet growing.
I'll become a man beep while you plant eaters waste away.
I'd definitely not stop eating meat.
Plumbing would all be backed up.
Animals would live.
All our diets mostly.
Satisfaction levels after eating.
Our diet.
It would reduce the amount of suffering in the world, reduce the risk of another pandemic, make the earth more habitable, and make humanity healthier.
Less animal death. Nutritional deficiencies will skyrocket.
A healthier and environmentally conscious species.
Maybe less need for cows, which means their farts will be less, which is safer for the ozone layer.
Our diets. The joke, how do you know if someone is a vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you would be replaced with a statutory substitute. How do you know if someone is a vegan? Don't worry, we all are.
CO2 emissions from animal farms and what forest lands are being raised for a change.
A lot less methane would be dumped into the atmosphere on a regular basis from cow burps.
Mass beep of worms, snails, and many other bugs.
We will all be even more sicker, malnourished, more depressed, and we will beep a lot link.
Laxative makers would see a dramatic loss of sales.
Mass malnourishment and habitat destruction. Regenerative agriculture is the future, not silly veganism.
Most humans will die.
Low carbon emissions, less obesity, and more obnoxious.
People will eat meat.
Production of food will be beep. There are reasons worlds have a lot of variety of food for us to consume. It is for balancing. You skewed that beep. You can be sure ecosystem destroyed as a result.
My property would be overrun by deer. Every day it is a war zone here. I must protect my beep radishes, but they are relentless in their thieving.
Exactly at this moment, a huge chunk of humanity would die from starvation, with poorest regions being horribly depopulated as prices soar. Hard to say when it would stabilize, again seeing as proper green food is less efficient than mass production unless you are vegan and don't care about the environment, I suppose. Then there's the question of what to do with all the cows, pigs, etc. They are horrible for the environment, but we can't just beat them all, right? Theoretically, we could send them to countries rife with starvation, but that's kind of beep up. I mean, entire world goes vegan and suddenly the only meat eaters are those with no other options while rich countries buy up all grain and veggies. That would immediately create an excuse for racists to claim moral superiority over the carnist inferiors. Seriously though, it's a project for decades at least, even with 100% agreement among the humans. Sudden shift would be catastrophical.
I wonder if there's enough land to grow all the food we need. Like fertile land able to grow other than grass. And fertilizer. Is artificial fertilizer enough? My guess is that much more energy would have to go into food production.
There would be no economic reason to continue feeding livestock, so all the animals would die anyway.
We have to talk about something else. Instead of making a vegan lifestyle your whole personality,
we would eventually deplete the nutrients in the soil required for agriculture unless we kept livestock. Crop rotation in conjunction with free-range livestock that aid in the fertility of soil through working and defecating is the only way agriculture can be sustainable for long periods of time. As you plant crops, they pull nutrients from the soil, and the soil then becomes infertile after a few harvests. You stop being able to grow things on that plot of land. Farmers combat this by having livestock, even if not to beep/eat, and rotating crops and pastures in order to ensure the soil is replenished with nutrients. So we might be vegan in the sense that we no longer consume animals, but we would still need to rely on their labor in order to continue to feed ourselves for any length of time.
Planning problems. People would protest the large-scale ag and sale of chia seeds because it exploits indigenous who use it as a main source of sustenance, and farmers would have to beep loads of birds to protect their crops.
Every animal within a 10-mile radius of any farm growing the plants for consumption will be killed off. If not by guns, by poisons.
Cows would become endangered within 25 minutes, 40 years.
Beep would freeze over.
Deleted.
The gravy boat industry would collapse.
Heart disease and diabetes would go away.
The amount of death involved in eating would rise, not fall. People don't understand that eating vegan isn't anywhere near as humane as it's cracked up to be. You want plants without involvement of any cruelty to life. When many organisms naturally gravitate towards crops because that's what they're instinctively programmed to do. From a capitalist standpoint, what do you think the farmers do to achieve this? Take ages to work around all the potential issues and handpick every crop. No. They exterminate all life currently existing in their plots and then set up all sorts of checks to prevent any more from sneaking in. There's nothing natural about veganism. If you want to commit yourself, by all means. All of us turning vegan. No thanks will likely do more bad than good without even taking into account the unexpected consequences. Nice carbon footprint though, I guess. This is without even beginning to calculate how many animals will die if we stop farming them and start replacing their habitats and food sources with farming plots of stuff they don't feed on.
Where I live, there's a large population of deer. Every year, during the hunt, many of them are killed and eaten. If there wasn't a hunt, the deer population would grow to the extent that it wouldn't just be a nuisance, but their natural food sources would become so scarce that they would die and get eaten by the wolves and coyotes and cougars, who would grow in population, making them a danger. Then there would be so many predators that they would run out of deer and they would starve so they would hunt anything. They would eat people because people are easy pickings. Then there would be fewer people to eat the vegetables and plants that the deer want to eat, making the deer population grow again in the circle of life. Or some such nonsense.
Obesity would skyrocket. There'd be an epidemic of obesity-related deaths.
There wouldn't be a lot of bodybuilders, if any at all.
Everyone would eventually be mute after overworking their vocal cords from talking about being vegan all the time.
We would beep ourselves out of existence.
The price of steak would plummet.
It would free up lots of farmland that could be rewilded, biodiversity would increase. The ongoing risk of antimicrobial resistance would probably decrease. Roughly 70% of antibiotics prescribed in the US go to livestock, not sick humans or even pets. We should be more afraid of superbugs like MRSA. Antibiotics are no longer the miracle cures they used to be due to overprescription of unnecessary antibiotics. Thanks for watching. This has been an AutoGenLabs production. That means that this video was created by a robot out of content on Reddit. We show all account names and list them in the description to credit the Redditor community that makes our work possible. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. We post new videos every day. If you have any suggestions for videos you would like to see, please leave a comment. Our human department for public relations reads all of them, or won't be let out of their cages again. Goodbye.